What's good, family? I hope y'all are having a very beautiful day today. And today I want to talk about relationships. Now, what is a relationship? A relationship is essentially a connection you have to another person or thing. That's a simple way to define it. Now, why is this important? I would say that relationships are probably the most important thing that you can have during your earthly existence because it really determines a big part of how you perceive the world and the experiences that you will have while you are living within this realm or living on earth. Now, there are a lot of different types of relationships. Some simple ones that you can really think about is familial relationships. That's like your family members. You have platonic relationships slash friendships, which can be like with friends and other different types of people. It's just it differs from romantic relationships, which is another type of relationship. That's something you would have with a significant other. You have big basic friendships, which are just connections or relationships you have with people you consider to be friends. And you have business relationships. That's people you do business with, more in the corporate world and whatnot. And you also have your relationship with yourself. I don't know if there's a proper term for it, but that's another type of relationship. Now, the most important things to maintain good relationships, I would say one of the biggest things is balance. Now, this is especially important within romantic relationships. There needs to be a sense of balance. And the reason why that is necessary is because if you lean too hard into one aspect of the relationship, you will eventually burn yourself out from that, and it makes it harder to experience a lot of different things. You become kind of like a one trick in life, and inevitably you'll get bored of it, your partner will get bored of it, and it can lead to the potential downfall and the demise of the relationship. Another important thing in terms of balance is something that I believe has a lot of truth behind it, and that is balance between masculine and feminine energies. Now, obviously, these energies are not just like men equals masculine and feminine equals feminine. There are aspects of both within each people, but I will definitely say that there should not be like 50% masculine, 50% uh feminine in like men or women. It's not like you're made as a man or a woman for a reason. You shouldn't really have the same amount of feminine energy as a woman. If you're a man, you shouldn't have the same amount of masculine energy as a man. If you're a woman, they exist and they're complementary for a reason. Now, another important thing in terms of relationships is reciprocity. Now, this is important, and first of all, reciprocity can differ between different people because one person's reciprocity doesn't equal another person's reciprocity, and all of that depends on what each person feels like they're getting out of the relationship. So, for example, if you have one friend who talks to another person just because they're lonely and they like talking about anime with this other friend, and you have the other friend involved in a relationship, we'll say friend number two. Friend number two likes being with friend number one because friend number one makes them feel excited about the world. So because friend number two feels excited about the world, they decide to just give friend number one a lot of presents, a lot of anime shirts and stuff. Friend number one is just happy, you know, hanging out, having somebody to talk to so they don't feel lonely, so they don't really give the other friend a lot of things. While in a typical case, people might think in terms of materialistic way, like, oh, it's not reciprocity. One person's giving another person gifts while another person isn't giving them a material gift. But it really depends on how friend number two, if they're okay with how they're being treated by friend number one and vice versa. So with that being said, it all depends on how you feel, how accepting you are of how you're being treated by the other person that you're in this relationship with. It doesn't have to be like, oh, you give me this thing, so I have to give you this thing instead. It's all about like giving from the heart and giving what you feel like you can give. And within that also, there is still a need to, you know, understand how the other person in the relationship feels about what it is that you're giving, so you can come to some type of compromise. It's like love languages, for instance. Like, if your love language is giving and the other person's love language is physical touch, and you decide, because you like gift giving, the way that you show your stuff naturally will probably end up being gift giving, because you're going to give the things that you feel like you feel are best for giving. That's just something that makes sense. So it is up to you to learn how to love your partners in their love languages to have a healthy relationship that can blossom. It's important to talk other people's language to them. Another important thing in terms of having strong, good relationships is setting boundaries. Now, boundaries are also very important because they align with another thing I wanted to talk about, which is values. Boundaries and values go hand in hand because your values will determine where your boundaries are set. Now, boundaries are important because they help people maintain their sense of self within a relationship while also exploring the unknown in a reasonable and healthy way. You're not just going overboard with it. And they're also important because there are a lot of things in this world that aren't good for some people that may be not as bad for some other people, but it's important for you to not do things that aren't good for you. Like, let's say drugs, for instance. You may have an addictive personality, so you decide you don't want to do drugs, and a person you're in a relationship with is okay with doing them and tries to encourage you to do them. It wouldn't be smart to just go and do them because your partner wants you to do them. You should be able to be comfortable with setting that boundary, and your partner needs to respect those boundaries. They should never feel like they have the right to interfere and try to push those boundaries. That is a big red flag, and that is something that you should never allow to happen. Another important thing is, in terms of relationships, the most important relationship that you have is never with a significant other. It is always first and foremost with yourself. And in relation to yourself, you can also think of it as the most high. That's how I like to think about it. I look at the most high as being an aspect of myself and something that I am connected to divinely through the universe. Now, the relationship with yourself is the most important because it determines what you can bring to the table and how much value you can provide to the life of another person. So if you don't have a strong relationship with yourself, you can for a little while do an extraordinary amount of things for another person or a few other people, but inevitably you will get burned out if you're not taking care of yourself the way that you need to. So it is important that first and foremost you take the best care of yourself so that you can bring your best foot to the table in order to help other people the best that you can. But you should never strive and just constantly put yourself, excuse me, you should never strive and put like all of yourself out there for other people to potentially take advantage of while you're expecting something to come back because you're giving so much of yourself. You always have to take care of yourself first and foremost. Now, one thing I wanted to make sure to say was that it's important to take care of yourself also because it really helps you to combine all the other things. So like boundary setting, reciprocity, your values, as well as your boundaries. I think I said boundaries, and your energies or whatever. All of those are consolidated through you taking care of yourself. If you practice self-care, and you part of self-care for me is like thinking about my connection to the universe and everything around me. I look at everything as like everything is connected. So me taking care of myself looks like me slowing down and being present in a moment on a consistent basis and doing a lot of things like breath work in order to really stay in the moment, so that while I'm able to do that, I can think more clearly about different types of things, and that will allow me to handle different situations in the best way that I can. So that is all that I had to say today about relationships. I hope that I was able to provide some value to anybody's life. Please make sure you comment, like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.